Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by and welcome to the 2022 Project Orchids, and this is Group 2. 3 orchids again, and we have a mix, the same as in Group 1 and Group 3, and this time we've got a mounted Dendrobium, we've got a giant Miltonia, and we have a Masdevallia, one from the cooler, shadier group. So again, a fair old mix, and this will be our initial look. We'll look the plants over, have a chat about their history with me, not the other type, and about what I expect from them during this growing season. And then, as with the rest of the Project Orchids, we will revisit these 3 orchids in May, along with Group 1 and Group 3. So let's get going with the first one. Okay, you have to excuse the rain. That's one thing I can't do anything about. Now the first one is Dendrobium Cariniferum. Now this is a black hair type that I decided to mount. The logic with that is that my black hair types don't do that well because of my low temperatures in the winter. At that particular point in time, it's very easy to rot the roots because the plants effectively stop growing in the winter, and as such are not using up moisture and things in the pot. So it's very easy to get too much water around the roots in the winter time with these at my temperatures. You know, if I could go up 3 or 4 degrees, they wouldn't slow up, and therefore it would be fine in a pot. But I thought I'd try one on a mount, and I had some rot issues, this is a while back now, and lost a couple of canes. They got cut off, but the 2 canes you see here were grown last year, and they've carried on growing through the winter, albeit incredibly slowly. So we have some dieback at the front end of the cane. Yeah, we will look into that. When you get leaf tips going brown or black, 9 times out of 10 you're looking at a nutrient issue, and basically it can't be that many, not with that type of signs. But the other cane hasn't got it, but what both canes have got are buds. Yeah, so we've got a couple of buds coming there, and tucked deep down inside the tip of there, probably only 1. This won't be the first time it's bloomed. It did bloom on the previous set of canes. But what I would hope from this, following blooming, when the temperatures rise, we've already got the day lengths. We're back over 11 hours now, so we've got comfortable day lengths for these sorts of plants. We need some temperatures, and at that time I would expect some new growths to start. Now some plants won't start new growths while they're in bloom, and some don't care one way or the other. It's the environment that triggers the new growths rather than, you know, they take no notice of whether they're in bloom or not. With this one I'm not sure, I haven't had it long enough. I've only had it, you know, through the 1 season with the blooms. The one thing that is common with all black hair types that I know of is the blooms are very long lasting. So we can expect this one to be in bloom possibly by the next update, which is in May. Hopefully not finished blooming by then, I wouldn't imagine, because it's going to be a couple of weeks before these buds open, and they are long lasting. I think they're at least 2 months, so we should see this in bloom next time round. So my hopes for this are a successful blooming without bud blast, and the reason I mention bud blast is because my humidity in this place at the moment is a lot lower than in the other place. So there's a lot less humidity around the plants, and I mean a lot less. At the moment we're looking at just over 60%. In my other place it would be 85-90 at this temperature. And at the moment during the daytimes I'm leaving the door open to the lounge to get residual heat in here to save the cost of the heating in here. So I've got to heat the house anyway, which is as well let a bit drift out here and stop the heater and fan kicking on. So that also reduces the humidity a bit. Now, in the not too distant future, I'm obviously going to get Hurricane Hector back out again and raise the humidity. But there's no point in trying to do that while this door is open during the day, because I don't want to be trying to humidify the lounge, do I? So there's a balance to do there. But lower humidity can be a reason for bud blast. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, at the moment we've got buds forming, and I would like to see some new growths in the not too distant future, and a successful blooming. So that's plant number 1. And the next one in this group is one of my larger Miltonias. Now the tag on this just says Miltonia Hybrid because I took it into the Bournemouth Orchid Society, and the name that I call it I wouldn't be able to use if it's going to be judged. Effectively this is a hybrid based on a high percentage of Miltonia moreliana, but it's not the species. It's very close, but it's not the actual species. So I'm quite happy to call it Miltonia moreliana with hybrid in brackets. Which is not the correct way to write an orchid name, but that's what I'm doing for this one, to remind me that what it's based on, even though it's not the pure species. Now what we've got here is a plant that won't need repotting this year. It was done last year, and it has room to grow just, but how it's deciding to grow, it really is only just. So what we've got here is existing bulbs. I don't think there's a bulb on here that's lost all its leaves yet, although during the summer months we may lose some more leaves. There are some older bulbs starting to show the yellowing of the leaves. They will drop eventually. It's funny on Miltonias, they have a strange habit of the bract leaves, as I call them. That's this pair down here. They're the two that hide the spikes when they come out from the base. But we always get the 2 leaves on the top as well, and it's strange that these 2 leaves always go first, followed by these. Anyway, so what we've got here, starting just left of the tag, this is last year's bulb that bloomed, yeah, dead spike in there, and that has 2 new growths. So from that bulb we're going to double the amount of growth. And then coming round here, again, this was a last year's growth, and I suspect it bloomed. Yes, it did. This has 3 new growths. Small one here, this one putting on, this was the first new growth to start, and another one here. So that one's going to have 3. So 5 so far. And come round here to the next one. That bloomed, I believe. Yes. And this has 2. So we're now up to 7. Yeah, and then coming round to here, got another new growth here, and we have 2 on there. That takes us up to 9. Is that the lot? That bloomed as well. Yeah, so we have 9 new growths on here. Now potentially they can all bloom, and they will all bloom at similar times. Obviously new growths that are this big compared with ones that are this big are going to have a gap. So this one will bloom first, and if this one is going to bloom, it's going to bloom after that one. So it could be that the first flush of blooms are fading before the last flush actually form. But if I got 9 spikes on that, I'll do a happy dance. You're not going to see it, don't ask. But it would warrant one, because the blooms on here are pretty stunning, quite a few per spike. And I think 9 spikes would be, well, a showstopper, quite honestly, despite the fact that it's not a true species. If it was the true species, I'd probably have less blooms on the spikes and the blooms wouldn't be quite as big. So we'll run with the fact that it's got something else in with it, unknown. We don't know what it is. So all of those new growths have got room to get their roots down into the current pot, into the current media. They're not going to go over the edge. You can see the new roots starting there. So the new roots start when the growths are, whatever that is, about 15 centimetres long, ish. It will vary. And they have all got room to go in that pot down the side. yeah, so they won't overlap. So I'm quite happy to leave it in its pot for this year. And I think the progress on this is going to be pretty good. We will lose some leaves, we will get new growth progressing. I do have a little worry, which we will monitor. There's some paleness on that leaf. It's not central, it's not on the tip, it's random. On that growth, not on that one, not on that one. So it's on that growth. I'll keep my eye on it, we'll monitor it, see if it occurs on any of the other new growths as the leaves start to spread. But we'll see. So I've got high hopes for this. It's a strong growing plant, and we should get a good blooming on this one, but that'll be much later in the season. Not yet. Right, so that's plant number 2. Right, and the last one out of the cooler, shadier set is a Masdevallia Hybrid. This appears to be growing pretty well. I mean, we've got one very noticeable leaf tip issue. A couple of others, well, I say a couple, one. So as far as leaf health is concerned on this plant, it's not bad. There's a couple of new leaves in here that are very pale, and effectively they've stalled, they're not going to progress. What else have we got? We've got a yellowed leaf in here. No, we haven't. We had a yellow leaf in here, that's fallen off. There's quite a few new leaves coming on this, but I've got to keep my eye on it because I think it's getting too dry in between waterings. Now that's my fault, obviously, and the fact that it's got a lot of cocoa husk in there, it doesn't look that dry to me. It's got a darker colour, but what's going wrong is not obvious, but it should be as soon as I pick the pot up. How many roots do you see down in that pot? None. There's a couple of roots near the top there. There's one down in the pot there, and one behind it. And where are all the other roots that you can see? They're near the surface, and the surface is drying. So I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to top dress that with moss to try and hold the moisture near the top, because this is where the new roots are coming out, and that's why I chose this plant. It's an anomaly. It's a healthy looking plant with lots and lots of leaves, and it's got next to no root system. So how on earth it's supporting itself, I really don't know. And it's literally only in the last couple of months that there have been any signs of root growth anyway. But there is signs of root growth now. It's not a lot for the size of the plant, but it's there. So we will top dress that with moss, ready for next time we see it. And hopefully it will establish a decent root system with that moisture around the base of the plant. Got the longer days now that this would appreciate, and what this is going to appreciate a lot more for this season, unlike in the old place, it's not going to get the heat. As far as I can tell, I'm not going to get the high temperatures up in the low 30s. You know, I was desperately trying to hold the other place down at 28, and on hot sunny clear days where the outside temperature was quite hot as well, I couldn't achieve that. I was going up over 30. It's not ideal for things like Masdevallias. Poor old Hurricane Hector was fired up all day long with 2 huge circulating fans trying to keep the plants cool. We shouldn't have that trouble this year. But what we have got is much lower humidity, and again, that's probably not ideal for a Masdevallia and the others that go with it, Restrapias, Draculas, Miltoniopsis, those are the higher ones. But what I did with this one, because it was very wobbly in its pot, is I just stuck some stakes right down through the centre of the plant, right down into the media, just to try and hold it still and keep it sitting on the surface firmly, because that's all it was doing. There were no roots to hold it in the pot, it was just sitting on the top. Well, it's started to root now, so I think we're getting somewhere. Hopefully we won't get a leaf drop on this one, but with the live moss around the top that will stay moist and help keep the surface of the media moist by not allowing it to evaporate so quickly, it should start growing those roots a bit faster and a bit better and get them deeper down into the pot. As I said, you can see the moisture in the pot, and you can see the top 2 centimetres is drying out. And unfortunately that's where most of the new roots are. So that's the job for this one this year, is initially to get a decent root system going with a bit of aid on the top of the media, and hopefully followed by perhaps a bloom now and again, because this one hasn't bloomed for ages. Now that's another thing that the Masdevallias are getting. They're on the top shelf this year. I'll just swing round. I don't normally do this in a project video, but I've got my cooler, shadier ones. They're not exactly shaded this year. They're on a higher shelf. Okay, they're at the rear of the building, which has less light than those at the front, but nonetheless they're getting a lot more light than they did in the other place. So we'll see what effect that has. So roots first, hopefully followed by some blooms, as with the roots obviously the new growth should push on a bit better than they are now, and we'll see how we do. But as I said, it's an anomaly. It's quite a nice looking Masdevallia, good sized plant, but what it hasn't got is roots. As I said, it amazes me how it manages to keep its leaves. So that's plant number 3. So there we go, that's group 2, another set of 3 plants. As I said, in this in the 2022 project orchids, there are only 9 plants this time, 3 groups of 3, and each group has different orchids in it, without a relationship basically. I think it's going to work quite well. As I said, it's an initial look, so this is what the plants look like, you know, in whatever it is, March, and we'll revisit them in May, early May, and do 3 updates for group 1, group 2 and group 3, and this is how we'll progress through the year. Same 3 orchids in group 1 in the same order, preceded by the original video, and group 2 will be preceded by the 3 clips I've just done now, followed by what they look like in May, and that's the idea of the project orchids. Hopefully the format's okay and people like it, and what I will do is the group 1 of this season's set I'll do as a link at the end of this video for anybody who's missed it or anybody who fancies watching it again. They're not hugely long videos, so group 1 will be coming up at the end of this video. And thanks for watching, hope you're enjoying these. They're a lot easier for me to make, that makes life a lot easier for me, and hopefully they're working for you. And I'll see you in group 3 early next week, on the grounds that tomorrow, Wessex Orchid Society show, I'll film the show obviously. Sunday is Sunday Chat. Monday will be the video of the show. Tuesday I've already got a video for, so you might get group 3 about Wednesday next week if you're lucky. So coming soon. And as I said, group 1 is a link at the end of this video if you want to watch it. Just tap or click. Oh, I'm sure these teeth are somebody else's. Click or tap on the link and you can see group 1. Thanks for watching, see you next time.